All right, welcome back to Shut Up and Ball. I am Aaron, accompanied by Mr. John Harris, as always. And yeah, a lot of stuff in the past few days we got to go over in the NFL. Can't even cover it all. So we're just going to head over the broader topics, more definitive things. So let's jump right into it. Um, Conference Championship weekend. I mean, we thought divisional round was great. Once again, games went down. I think there's a statistic. I think there's no. I know the last six games went down to the final possession, or were decided by the final possession. I think that was a first, if not probably a real rarity. So yeah, we've been treated to some great playoff football. We got it again. Although this game first half didn't look like it was going to be that way. It looked like we were finally getting the blowout, boring game as Kansas City went up early. I think it was 21-10, and obviously Bengals came back. They won, but yeah, I want to get your thoughts on the game, but specifically, just first off, John, on I guess the decision at the end. That's also heavily scrutinized. Kansas City had the ball at the 1 yard line with 9 seconds left, came up with 0 points. So yeah, if you want to start there or however you felt about the game, you can go ahead.
Well, first off, I mean, man, the Bengals proved me wrong. Like, did I pick them to cover? Yes, but at halftime, I was texting one of my buddies, and I was like, man, this is probably it for the Bengals. They had a great run so far, and I even specifically, which once again, their defense proved me wrong. I specifically said, yeah, like I didn't have the exact words pulled up, but it was something along the lines of, the Kansas City offense is just too good. The defense stepped up the last 2 weeks, but I don't know if they can against the Chiefs, and they did. So starting with that play right before halftime, you have a big lead, so I can understand like trying to be a little risky, but at the same time, and I feel like there's a lot of people that are really harping on this specific play in hindsight to talk about momentum and all this stuff. But like in the midst of the game, you have a big lead, like I said, so maybe you want to be a little more aggressive and really pad it and really like try to put the nail in the coffin early. But at the same time, there's the argument of taking your points. I would have liked that they take the points there, just keep extending it because we've seen what Joe Burrow can do against that defense, a couple weeks prior. So I would have liked that they took the points, but that being said, I don't fault them for going for the touchdown. I just don't love the play design. Not throwing it into the end zone, you put it out in the backfield for Tyreek Hill. I mean, sure he's fast, but it's a very limited amount of space that he has out there on the sideline, and so it's a lot easier, I think, to cover him there as opposed to, you just maybe throw something up to Travis Kelsey on like a goal line fade. If it doesn't work, you take your points. So I would have liked that the Chiefs maybe kept it a little more simple there, but that felt like that was like the start of the momentum shift. Bengals get a big stop on defense right before halftime. So now maybe they're feeling confident. They feel like they can come out. And then right after halftime, that's when the comeback started. So I like I said, I don't blame the Chiefs for going for a touchdown there, especially since hypothetically, if it's an incomplete pass, then you get a chance at a field goal. I just don't really love the play design that they went with. It's Andy Reid, so he's one of the best, and I just think this wasn't the best play design that he had on this one specifically. To where, or maybe it was Mahomes on the read. I haven't rewatched the play, so I don't know if there was other routes that happened, like on the other side of the field or in the end zone. I'm sure there was. But I would have liked that maybe they just you go for the incomplete or the touchdown. Like you don't go for something that could potentially run the clock out. So don't love the play call there. In the second half, I mean, well, I'll let you talk about that play first, real quick, and then maybe we can talk about the second half.
Yeah. Um, I was on the I was on the side of you take the points because all the momentum is on Kansas City's side,
Right.
and for the Bengals to go in a half only down 11 and get a little momentum, like man, they got 0 points because especially they're at the one. I bet you if I don't know any specific interviews, but uh, I feel like if you were to interview ask most of those defenders, especially or even the coaching staff, hey, like what were you thinking at that moment? Did you feel like the Chiefs were gonna get points regardless? They'd probably be like, yeah, like they're probably gonna get at least 3 points. Like shoot, we're down 2 scores at halftime, and I know it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback here or hindsight. Obviously, they need those 3 points because maybe at the end they're driving to win the game as opposed to just
Mm-hmm.
tie the game. Um, I saw Andy Reid. He took, after press conference afterwards, both him and Mahomes both took the blame. Like Andy said, I shouldn't have put that play call out there. Mahomes said, I should have done something else. So Yeah, I think the blame goes on both of them there. One or the other should have thought about maybe thought about the play call, played a little more safe, especially like you mentioned that little screen to Tyreek. Eli Apple, calm down, man. Like
Yeah,
you didn't do
chill.
much. Like it was a team effort. But yeah,
He
first
got
half,
torched a lot that game. So like him piping up because they won is the definition of you're getting, destroyed and you yell scoreboard.
yeah, and we'll talk about the second half in a second. But yeah, in regards to the first half, I mean, Chiefs. It was like towards the end of the Buffalo game or just the Buffalo game continued where they were just methodically driving down the field, good combination of run and pass, and they were just it looked like they were unstoppable. It's like man, like the Bengals are doing what everyone's been doing all year. They're not allowing the big play, but Kansas City's proving that they can matriculate down the field at will.
Right.
But obviously things changed in the second half, so I'm not sure what your thoughts if you wanted to mention something there.
Yeah. So second half, and I found this pretty interesting. That I mean, the Bengals are playing some pretty soft coverage, but in the second half, they went like ultra conservative, not letting anything to the air. I saw that they put 8 in coverage, only 3 down linemen going after the quarterback 45% of the time. So almost half of the second half, they weren't even sending people towards Patrick Mahomes, and we could see that there was a lot of plays where Mahomes was dancing around for like
Had
eight
all day.
ten seconds, like he just had all the time in the world, including the overtime interception, which we'll get to later. But he had a lot of time, and they just did a really good job coverage wise. And unfortunately, I think once again, I didn't watch the game so intently that I could tell you all the route combinations. Like I haven't like gone back and watched it since looking at it, but it seemed like they were just the play calls weren't necessarily terrible. It's just maybe Mahomes was looking for something deep, didn't get it, and then by that time, something underneath got covered, and people just couldn't get open, and so he tried to make plays happen, and they just weren't there. But in his own words, I mean, he took the blame on himself. He said that he's got to be better in the second half. They had a huge lead, and they didn't get any points really, while the Bengals started to score a lot. So I, you know, I'd love to blame a lot of other people, but it just seems like Mahomes in that offense, they just weren't able to score. Like I said, I don't know if the receivers weren't getting open. I don't know if the coverage was just that good, but in the second half, they just put a lot of people back in coverage and said, if you're going to beat us, you got to, beat us with the short underneath stuff the rest of the game. Chiefs got a little impatient. They weren't able to do it. And the Bengals, they came out and had a great game plan. So shout out to their defensive coordinator. He made a halftime adjustment and it worked. And yeah, it was a pretty shocking win, honestly. Like, I don't know how you felt when the coin toss happened for overtime. I'll let you get on your second half thoughts, but the way that like after last week with all the controversy and the rule change and everybody talking about it needs change, which I still believe that despite what happened, it was crazy that the feeling of inevitability of them winning the game when they won the coin toss, it didn't happen.
Yeah. So in regards to second half, I mean, uh, except for baby, only like the first three and out. Was it a three and out? It wasn't a three and out. Sorry, because I have the Chiefs drives pulled up for the second half to make my point. I'm scrolling. Sorry, first. Really, after their first drive, they punted. Had 5 plays, 16 yards, and then punt. But after that, like, and even that drive, but more of the other drives, it's just something that's always been an Andy Reid problem, which it hasn't reared its head because they've gotten away with it because they're Chiefs, but
Mm-hmm.
not committing to the run. I mean, you even look at the yards. Like I think as a team, Kansas City Chiefs averaged over 5 yards a carry or about that. And then even the
Right.
second half, they had some good runs, some good like 4, 5, 6, 7. Like they were kind of gassed, and then McCole Hardman had a 9 yard, end around at 1.2, but it then
I mean, both McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire were avraging over 5 yards per carry.
but
So
it's like the Chiefs would run the ball and then they get too cute. I think that's the phrase I'm going for, where you have the, and I think this is my criticism is just keep running the ball, make them stop you.
yeah, yeah.
It be a little bit old school. Like you have the lead, don't be, and then you tie, and then also not really tying a lot of the run with the pass and play action. I know the only way they really do that is the RPOs, but to quote, the exile John Gruden, which I mean, obviously he had some bad stuff, but this is a great analogy. He had RPO, ridiculous protection offense. It started. I mean, we saw it a few times where he had to throw the ball away, or I think, or McCombs Holmes barely escapes and such. And I think if I remember correctly, on that last drive where they did score the field goal, they were right there once again knocking on the door at the goal line. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I think one of those plays was an RPO, and It didn't go right and ended up in a sack. And that's another criticism I have there is you had 2 timeouts. You're at the 4 yard line. Maybe run the ball once because I just feel like from like you said, especially that stat, I didn't know that it was 45%. I just realized that seeing that game, the Bengals had no respect for the run game. They said,
Yeah.
I think the Bengals even knew the Chiefs aren't gonna be patient with the run. This
Yeah.
isn't like they just aren't patient with it.
Right.
So and they have a good O line. Like they have a big overpowering O line, and like we just said, they've been gashing them. So and then
And
uh,
Jerick McKinnon was running hard. Like he
yeah,
had
he
some great
was.
runs in that game.
Yeah, he was. And then overtime. I just want to read the plays. First play, 1st and 10, shotgun pass, incomplete. 2nd and 10, shotgun pass. And then third down, I get it. You have to pass for 3rd and 10. But maybe you'd like to see maybe a run in there. Maybe it's 3rd and 5 instead of 3rd and 10. And Mahomes doesn't feel like he has to take a shot down
Right.
the field. And who knows? Maybe once again, Kansas City drives down and scores a touchdown like they did against Buffalo. And then we're all sitting here saying the same thing, but didn't happen. Still, like you mentioned, credit does go to the Bengals defense second half because they know that's probably something they realized. They said this team isn't gonna be patient with the run, so we're just gonna play pass, rush three, since and do all the creative stuff. So yeah, give big credit to the Bengals coaching staff for realizing that flaw and just rolling with it. So yeah, that was just my biggest bugaboo. It's just Andy Reid / Eric Bieniemy be more stubborn with the run game, and also maybe next year find more ways to tie it together. But we'll see with their O line. I know Orlando Browns might be a free agent, and I don't think they'll be able to re-sign him. But otherwise, they still have a really good O line across the board. So yeah, those are my thoughts for second half and overtime. But I don't know if you had, at least in regards to Chiefs offense, Bengals defense. But
I mean, just for overtime, obviously starting off with 3 passing plays. I don't know the specific defensive like stuff that they ran. The Bengals did in that, but if they came out on any of those first 2 downs with 3 down linemen and you don't run it, I mean, like I hate to be the guy that like brings up Madden, right? But everyone's played Madden before, and you sit there and the opponent on like 1st and 10 comes out with 3 down linemen, and you just audible to a quick halfback dive and run it right up the gut because you got numbers advantage. And so I totally agree with you there. I feel like even just like establishing a rhythm, you got the ball back and it's pressure time. And we know that Mahomes and this offense can deliver, but like, let's establish a rhythm. Let's get some positive yardage. Let's not have our first 3 downs, be nothing. And then even on that throw, like to Tyreek Hill, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what else was there. I think like, maybe he could have waited. I think Travis Kelce got open a little bit late, but just don't love the decision to go super deep, and in double coverage pretty much, especially with Tyreek Hill, who's not like a big body, like a Michael Pittman, who's like 6'4" and can go up and make that kind of play. Like Tyreek's kind of a small guy. So,
I mean he's made the play a handful of times, but yeah, even then, like it was a good double coverage. Like he did not,
yeah.
he wasn't. There's a phrase, if he's even, especially with Tyreek, if he's even, he's leaving. He was not even with the safety, and they
Yeah.
kind of had him bracketed anyway. So, yeah. But also, yeah, like you mentioned, credit goes to Bengals offense, just staying patient.
Yep.
It looked once again early on, like we've seen a few games, like man, like the O line not gonna be able to hold up. But yeah, credit for the Bengals offense, especially a young team. Because I think part of the issue going through the year, I think we mentioned it when we did our picks, was they'd win like 2 or 3 games and then lose 2 or 3 games. And I
Mhm.
think they were able to handle the adversity this time. I mean, they had a few drops, some tough catches, but then I think they were able to match the physicality of the Chiefs' defense, and it showed because then we saw Jamar Chase making plays and T Higgins, and then obviously then guys like Shamaje Perine on a good little pass there. So yeah, I mean. I'm not gonna say the Chiefs blew it. The Bengals absolutely deserve the win, and the Chiefs, they have some
I
things
mean,
to adjust to.
when you get the ball first in overtime, I think you'd say you kind of blew it based
Yeah,
on
but
the
if you,
stats.
yeah, I've done stats, but when you think about it too, like we mentioned, second half, they only scored in that last
It
drive when they
it
really
it
needed
is
to.
true.
So
It is
they really
true.
never really had momentum until then. So yeah, but I mean, Bengals to the Super Bowl, great for them. Great for Joe Burrow. I love that picture. Where I think when was that an old lineman, Shelvin, I think was so, or maybe the
I think he's a defensive
defensive tackle.
tackle.
I was always a defensive tackle. Yeah, it's just I write this same picture, and then obviously him and Jamar, right? Just a great connection there. So yeah, I got nothing
Just
else to add.
real quick, did you see the clip after the game of Mahomes and Burrow, like, meeting up and, talking to each other? And Mahomes says, go win it all.
I saw that, but I was like, I mean, which obviously awesome. I mean, it's
I just thought it was funny because Burrow, Burrow has like this super, confident swagger, been there, done that.
diamond
But in
chain.
that moment where he was still like taking it in, like we're going to the Super Bowl, he looked like he was in shock when Mahomes walked up and was like, "Hey man, go win it all." And he he was like, "Holy!" And then that was all he said.
Yeah, or maybe they
Anyway,
bleeped
I
out
just thought it was
the next
funny.
word.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they bleeped it out.
but yeah, I think. I mean, we think, like I said, this is a very young team. This is a really
Yeah,
like Joe Burrow's like I would call like a redshirt freshman year because remember last year he
yeah.
tore his Achilles midway through the year. Dean
Played
finished
what,
his
like
rookie
6 games?
Yeah, and then now this is his first full year off an ACL injury, which was looking shaky in preseason, which is a reason why con- I wasn't too confident in the Bengals coming into the season, along with the Jamar Chase drop issues. But yeah, good for Joe Burrow and also Zach Taylor because he could have easily not been here this season. So credit the Bengals for staying front office for staying patient with him, giving him another year. Because I think we both said too that he was on the hot seat coming in. So
Yeah.
he definitely answered the bell there. So that was Chiefs and Bengals. Bengals advance. So who comes out of the NFC? Now we go to that game. Let me pull that up.